I think I said so. Oh.
Hello, everybody, and welcome into the Couch GMs podcast. That is your host. He can't stop laughing, but that is George Kerth, and I'm back. That's what I am. I'm Tyler Snyder, joining him today. How are you today, George?
I laughed just about as hard as I did for Survivor picks, so I'm doing pretty good.
Man, I think that just proves right there that you're already in for a great show or a terrible show, depending on how you look at it. But we're going to have some fun. George, why don't you go ahead and take over the host duties? This is not usually my job.
All right. Well, first off, if you don't know what the heck just happened, make sure you go check us out on YouTube, or you can actually see us on video on Spotify. So go check that out and see what train wreck started this episode and what train wreck continues in this episode. But you know it's going to be a good one. Obviously, we're here on a Saturday. It's October 14th, 2023. We normally do our episode on Fridays. We're just a little bit off this week, but it's fine. And Cody also does a Couch Jams World Cup recap episode earlier in the week. So make sure you're following us and check out all that content. And follow us on our social medias, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok at the Couch GMs. And always feel free to send us a DM with your fantasy questions each week. Tyler, a lot of things happened. Why don't we sit back, relax, and chat? I almost forgot to hit the bumper because Cody's normally the one on those duties, and Tyler's literally sitting back. So thank you for taking what I said to heart. I really appreciate that.
That's what you told me to do. That's what I got to do.
Of course. So I mentioned this when I was taking over for Cody on the World Cup episode. Typically, Black Tuesday is reserved for right after the NFL regular season when you're talking about all the coaches getting fired. But it seemed like it was that way for fantasy owners this week as injuries were everywhere. Some names that went on injured reserve this week: Justin Jefferson, Devon Achane. By the way, if you didn't know, Tyler, it's Achane, not A-Chain. That was announced before last week. So I know I've been back and forth. It's going to be a transition. James Conner, Anthony Richardson, and Khalil Herbert, all names that were probably parts of your fantasy teams that are now hitting injured reserve. We might as well clump them together here. Pick your favorite one you want to talk about and talk about like fantasy implications to the team, some guys you can do to grab to fill in.
You know, I want to say Devon Achane because in two separate leagues, I started the season 0-2, 0-3, and I literally thought my season was over. And then I picked up Achane and haven't been beaten since. And he's been a huge part of it. So that sucks. I mean, he'll be back. But I'm not going to talk about him too much because really all that does is make Raheem Mostert better. If Mostert ends up going down, like I know eventually he will, then we'll have some more to talk about. But I'll talk about Khalil Herbert because I think he's the most interesting one because you have Roschon Johnson, who should be the backup. And when Roschon Johnson plays, he's going to be really good. And I think he's the guy you got to stash. But the issue is Roschon has a concussion and isn't going to play this week. So now you're looking at Dante Foreman, maybe somebody else. I know they just went out and got Darrington Evans back onto the practice squad. He was with the team last season.
Probably going to be by the way, this week they're going to be healthy on their roster.
Right, yeah, and he'll be a game day call-up for sure. Yep. But I don't think I'd play either one of them. I don't trust them yet. Maybe Dante Foreman in a DFS. But outside of DFS, I don't think I would play either of them. But Roschon Johnson's the guy to go get. And maybe somebody's frustrated because he has a concussion. He's out. Maybe they want to get rid of him if somebody already has him. If they don't, if he is on free agency, I mean, go snag him. But that's the guy I would look out for.
I think a good way to look at it too is see what team he's on. We talk about don't freak out if you're a 1-4 and 0-5 team, but not everyone listens to us or our advice. Maybe he's on a 1-4 team. Somebody's getting desperate. You can throw him somebody that they can flex this week, and get back like him in a piece or something. Like that's just a random trade I kind of threw together, but that kind of idea. Get yourself a longer term piece if you're a solid contender, just trying to set yourself up for a playoff run or something like that. I like that move a lot there, Tyler. And I think there's a chance if Johnson does well before Herbert gets back, Herbert may not be the starter even when he is healthy again. We'll have to see, obviously, how that breaks out. That's a lot of speculation, but a possibility. The James Conner situation is interesting as well, because I mean, he wasn't really, blowing the doors off, but he was a solid flex play for a lot of teams. And now that he's out, we obviously had the waiver rush for Amari DeMarcado, and then we found out that Keontae Ingram is actually number one on their depth chart. So I don't know how that one's going to break out. There's a good chance it's going to be one of those messy committees that none of them are going to be effective. I wouldn't play either of them this week for that reason as well, but there's a chance that one of them becomes a fantasy relevant player. So if either of them are sitting on your waiver wire and you have an open bench spot or somebody you don't really care about dropping right now, go add one as a speculative.
Yeah, and George, there's another piece of news here, and this is a piece of news that I completely missed. And usually, I'm really on top of football news. So this one kind of caught me off guard. That like, I heard an interview with Coach Arthur Smith, and he was mentioning like, oh yeah, Van's going to be a great addition to the team. I'm like, wait, does he mean Van Jefferson? And I had to go research the news and saw that it happened days before then. But yeah, Van Jefferson was traded to the Falcons. I mean, it might not seem like a big move, because Van Jefferson really wasn't a big part of the Rams offense this year. At one point, we kind of thought he would be. Cooper Kupp down, and they didn't really know of anybody else on that roster. So we were like, oh man, it must be Van Jefferson's finally going to get his chance. But it was Puka Nakua and Tutu Atwell. And I mean, I'm not going to blame the Rams at all because it worked. But now he goes to the Falcons. Outside of Drake London and whether or not Kyle Pitts is a thing, they really don't have a whole lot of options. So I think Van Jefferson could slide in and be a decent piece. I mean, it's not going to be a huge fantasy asset or anything like that. I don't think he's a guy you need to rush out and pick up. I don't even think he's a guy you need to stash. But it's just an interesting person because, like, maybe later in the season, injuries, bye weeks, whatever, he could end up solidifying himself on that team. And the Falcons are an up and coming team. So, um, interesting move. I like the move by the Falcons a lot.
I do too. And yeah, like you said, this is not going to be a big fantasy relevant piece, mostly because the Falcons just don't pass the ball enough. Like, we see how frustrating Kyle Pitts is. We try to get weeks out of Drake London, and occasionally he helps us. But no, I like it because the Falcons are 3-2. They're currently tied for second in their division, only a half game behind Tampa Bay because they already had a bye. This is a team that's going to be competing for a division title, at least at this rate. So that's a solid piece to go out and get to try to help a young quarterback, even if Van Jefferson isn't the most flashy name. So yeah, a little bit in the NFL side of things, I like it too.
Well, George, I think it's time to get to what everybody else wants to talk about. Let's get into our preview for this week.
I remember to hit the bumper this time. See, isn't that you're proud of me?
I am so proud of you.
Thank you. I can do this actually. Let's figure it out. Bye weeks this week. We only actually have two teams. And it's the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Green Bay Packers. Interesting that Jacksonville was across the pond for 2 straight weeks and they decided to not take a bye week right after coming back. But we'll get to their game in the 1:00 window. Starting off in London, as we mentioned, the Baltimore Ravens and the Tennessee Titans. Take it away, Tyler.
Yeah, Titans suck right now, so it's
And that's the end of the London game. No, I'm kidding.
it's probably gonna be terrible. Look, the last time the Titans played in London, it was horrendous. That they just looked like garbage. And the Titans have been really wishy-washy this year. So every time the Titans play a team that you're like, huh, I think the Titans could pull this one off, they're garbage. But every time the Titans play a team that they're like, yeah, there's no way the Titans beat this team, they end up pulling out the victory. So, I mean, do you think the Titans should or shouldn't beat the Ravens?
Depends. Are you asking me now or are you asking me before last week?
I'm asking you right
'Cause
now.
the answer changed. I mean, I think there's a chance because the Ravens are also a little bit wishy-washy right now.
Well, if you think there's a chance, that means Titans have no shot. So Titans are out. Um, Speaking of out, so is Traylon Burks for the third week in a row. Um, Look, as a Titans fan, I'm starting to get worried. This man was battling injuries all last season, battling injuries all preseason, and now during the season, he's missing 3 straight weeks with a knee injury. But the fact that he missed 3 straight weeks and they didn't put him on IR tells me that he should be back after the bye. Otherwise, they would have IR'd him. As far as fantasy players for this game, I would say you're still playing Derrick Henry. Look, I was talking to my wife, and you got to know that my wife is the biggest Derrick Henry fan ever. She loves that man with all her heart. And she even came to me and she's like, should I bench Derrick Henry like for David Montgomery? And I was like,
Ooh,
I'm gonna
actually.
I'm gonna pretend you didn't just say that. Well, in reality, probably, but you don't bench Derrick Henry. I'm sorry. He is always a 30-point score away. If you're benching Derrick Henry, it better mean that you have, Christian McCaffrey and Bijan Robinson somehow. Which, if you have those two, what are you doing with your life? You already won the championship. You don't even need us. But you still need us to listen to the show.
Or our fan question this week having Kyron Williams and Ken Walker.
Yeah, in that case, like I know some of you guys were talking about potentially benching Derrick Henry. Still no. No, I would bench Ken Walker over Derrick Henry. He's too
Not
big of a
even
piece.
Kyron. Okay. I mean, I matchups kind of feed into that too, but
Yeah,
coming
I
into
like
the season,
Kyron
it'd be
this year.
like, oh, you're gonna bench Ken Walker, who was the second highest drafted, and then Kyron, who we didn't even draft, but he's been solid. You're right.
I think Kyron's value is going to start to dip a little bit now. The teams have a little bit of a tape on him. Plus, with Cooper Kupp back, Matt Stafford's going to want to focus on him. But I digress. We're not even on that game. So DeAndre Hopkins is a potential play. I mean, he showed what he could do last week. I think D Hop could be a flex play this week. I don't think he's your wide receiver 1 or 2, but he should be a solid flex play. Outside of that, nobody on the Titans should be played. Titans defense has been solid, surprisingly, but I still wouldn't start them. And then on the Ravens side of the ball, I mean, George, you're the one that's engaged to a Ravens fan. Tell me who I should be playing here.
You're playing Lamar, even though he hurt you last week with 9 points. You're playing Mark Andrews because the tight end position is trash. I mean, that's honestly where I would like to draw the line. You can throw a potential long shot flex at Zay Flowers. He hasn't been consistent enough for me to want to like confidently do it against a tough defense. And
right,
I'm not
George.
touching their run game.
Zay
So
Flowers or D Hop? Which one are you starting?
probably D Hop.
Okay.
And again, a week ago, I would have said Zay Flowers. So like things have changed a little bit. And
Zay Flowers
you
or
have
Drake
to
London?
try to. Atlanta's playing Washington. I'm gonna say Zay Flowers with low confidence.
Fair enough.
That's a close one.
Well,
but yeah,
some
no, I
of
think
you
it's
might
just
not
those
even be
two.
awake by the time this game is over, depending on how you live your life. The old me
And what
would have
time
slept.
zone you're in, let's be honest.
Yeah, that too. The old me would have slept halfway through this game, but definitely not going to now. I will be up and ready to go. I probably won't sleep much the night before. My entire family is Ravens fans, so when the Titans play the Ravens, this is my Super Bowl. So this is gonna be a big week for me, and I'm not excited for it, to be honest with you. But moving on to the 1 o'clock window, we have the Washington Commanders and the Atlanta Falcons, both teams being surprisingly better than we expected them to be. Now, the Falcons are 2.5-point favorites. Over under is set at 42. George, who should we be watching?
Not Drake London at the moment. Kyle Pitts. Can we just have a quick discussion about Kyle Pitts? Because I finally thought I got a Kyle Pitts prediction right. And then he decided to be top 5 in the league in targets last week. Is that the fluke game that we're used to him having, and then he's going to go back to normal? Or is this actually finally the Kyle Pitts breakout?
I think Kyle Pitts can be thrown into the same old big old bucket of tight ends that is wishy-washy, and you never know what to expect. You have your tight ends that you have to play, you have your tight ends that you hope, and then you have like the tight ends you just don't play unless you absolutely have to. And in the middle there is this bucket of tight ends that it's like Hunter Henry, for example, who's like 1 target, 1 catch, 2 targets, 2 catches, 12 targets and 8 catches and 2 touchdowns. Like, excuse me, what? How about who was it last week? Or last 2
Dalton
weeks? Cole Kmet.
Schultz?
Cole Kmet. Like, Cole Kmet wasn't even rostered in most leagues, and out of nowhere, he has a 2-touchdown game, and you're like, oh my God, Cole Kmet, let's all pick him up. And then he like goes right back to flat. Like,
Mhm.
it's this bucket of tight ends that you just can't trust, and they're just all over the place. It's nice that we're adding tight ends to the list of every week starters like Sam Laporta, but yeah, Kyle Pitts.
Yeah.
If I'm being honest, like, I'm not starting him if I have any choice. I try to go get another tight end. Um, Personally, I avoided him in every single league to begin with because the dude has done nothing in his career to tell me that I should be rostering him, and yet he's still being drafted like up there with like George Kittle and those guys. Like, no. So I already didn't have him, but if I did have him right now, I'd be trying to hope that he has a breakout game again this week and then just dump him to some tight end needy guy.
That would be the ideal situation to go about. And that's one of those that like Cody likes to say, if I'm wrong about this, that's okay. Like I'm okay with being wrong if I would trade Kyle Pitts to somebody and then he happens to finally be the guy that we've been looking for the past 3 seasons. Another tight end who you might be able is like on the fringe of that bucket maybe recently is Logan Thomas.
Yeah, that's another guy that's available in like every dynasty league I'm in. When I go to like, let's see who the most owned player is in leagues, it's always Logan Thomas, and I'm still like, yeah, I'm good. I just,
He had a
I don't know, man.
season. And I think like people are living off of that season just like they're living off of Kyle Pitts' draft hype. Um, but I mean, if you need a bye week, Phil, take a shot. There's not really any tight ends on bye this week. I mean, what would we say? Steelers, Pat Fryermuth is kind of in that bucket as well right now.
And injured.
And then we haven't, and injured, and we haven't had a Packers tight end breakout yet. I mean, I think Luke Musgrave had 1 game so far this year, if even. So anyway, we're talking players we can play on the Falcons and Commanders. I don't really like a
Bijan,
lot of the Bijan. I don't really
that's
like a
it.
lot of the Commanders options because the Falcons defense is good. Like I said in my TikTok, less than 200 passing yards a game against the Falcons right now makes me not want to play McLaurin, makes me not want to play Dotson, makes me not want to play Howell. Brian Robinson and Bijan Robinson. Play the Robinson Bros.
Robinson brothers. Um, yeah. So I don't really like McLaurin in this matchup either. But McLaurin's another one of those guys that's like, I don't trust him, so I bench him and he puts up 20. So then I start him because I'm like, oh man, he put up 20. And then like the dude ends up putting up 2. He's super annoying this year. But this matchup, I think I'd leave him on the bench, let him score 20 on my bench. It's fine. Hopefully you have some other options, but you know, it really depends on who you have. Um, Maybe you don't have that depth to be able to bench a guy like McLaurin. So that's where hopefully you have your friendly neighborhood couch GMs that you can reach out to and ask some lineup questions, and we'll be able to help you out. But that's enough
That
Atlanta Falcons and Washington Commanders, if you ask me.
100%. So let's go to Minnesota Vikings traveling to the Chicago Bears. We mentioned the Bears backfield a little bit with only a healthy Dante Foreman and Darrington Evans. Trying to avoid them anyway, just because of the uncertainty and the fact that like Foreman's been a healthy scratch probably for a reason, even though I tend to love Dante Foreman, not touching it. DJ Moore's in your lineup regardless. I know some people benched him because he's been struggling kind of throughout. You have to play DJ Moore now. We've learned this. And I think you have to play Justin Fields again too.
DJ Moore, Justin Fields, Cole Kmet, unless you have a stud tight end. And on the other side, I'm just starting Jordan Addison. Like, I know Jordan
Mm-hmm.
Addison's kind of a risky play because he's been very wishy-washy this year, but like Addison has to step up because Jefferson's not there anymore. So it's either you're right and you get an absolute stud receiver, or you're wrong and Addison's not the guy we thought he was. But this is the team to show he is the guy against. But outside of those 4, man, that's it. So I'm starting. I
So
don't
we
even like Kirk
actually
Cousins.
had I wasn't even going to say that. I mean, but Cousins isn't a solid matchup. I think I'm actually benching him for Tua this week. I'm not sure. I have a Cousins Tua like guess the player every single week. We had a fan question that came in. So I mean, I know the Bears defense has basically typically been trash. So Alexander Madison's in some people's minds. I had a fan question come in that said, "Is Cam Akers any bit in consideration in this matchup?"
That is about like a -2.
Okay.
No, not touching him. Not touching. He has to really flash and show something for me to really trust into him. I don't like Cam Akers. I don't like that backfield. I don't like this team. The Vikings are an absolute dumpster fire at the moment, and especially with Justin Jefferson out and the way that they've been playing so far, I think that they are going to be sellers. Um,
Mhm.
I think that they are going to start shopping some people around at the deadline. But yeah, I'm not starting Cam Akers. I don't like Madison either. Another guy that I avoided into drafts. I wanted nothing to do with him. I have 10 leagues. I have him in 0.
I'm someone who has Madison in a couple, but I think I'm benching him everywhere. If you have to play Madison, you could probably do worse. If you have to play Cam Akers, look at some of the injuries. Go see if you can get one of the two Cardinals guys. Go see. I mean, I would even take Dante Foreman over Cam Akers. It's just, but if you're that far down in rungs, take a second look at your bench and see if there's somebody else that you can actually play in that spot. And hopefully you're not just relying on a Steelers or Packers back because they haven't been great. Um, and they're the
I
only
would
teams on
honestly,
bye.
if I'm being honest, like there's other backup running backs that I would be playing over Cam Akers. Just to name like two of them, Tajay Spears, to the Titans, has been getting
Yep.
like 50% share with Derrick Henry and gets all the passing. Scored last week. I would start him over him. And Salvan Ahmed is another guy that I would start over Cam Akers. I mean, the Dolphins have shown that they're willing to share carries. The Dolphins' run game is absolutely dominant right now, and Ahmed should step in as a potential number two. I mean, there's some other guys in there as well, but he's been the guy that they've leaned on before. So those are two guys that I would start over Cam Akers personally.
Two very solid options there. That's two people I didn't think of. I would even start Kenny Gainwell or Justice Hill over them too.
Yeah.
Because they're going to get a couple of carries and they're both explosive backs. So there you go. If that gives you any idea out there, I think that was Andrew that sent that in. So thank you for the question also. We can move on to the next game. It's the Seattle Seahawks and the Cincinnati Bengals. I had a hot take on the Bengals and specifically T. Higgins, where he is questionable. They expect that there's a chance he can come back. And I think even if he comes back, I'd keep him on the bench against the worst team against wide receivers in the league. Is that too bold for you or?
Like, I get where you're coming from.
Mhm.
So I don't think it's terrible to say. My issue is if I drafted T. Higgins where I drafted T. Higgins, it's going to be really hard for me to bench him. Like I had to have had somebody, I had to have had like a Puka Nakua come out of nowhere, like in order for me to bench T. Higgins. Which even with Puka, like I still like I feel like that Puka train's going to start going down, but we'll see. Um, yeah, I'd probably still start Higgins myself.
Okay. I mean, I would not play Tyler Boyd. I said no, there's a chance that it's a Tyler Boyd week still if Higgins comes back and they ease him in, but I don't like Tyler Boyd enough to play him. Who I do like is Jamar Chase. He's obviously in your lineup. You can play Burrow again. You're playing Joe Mixon. Seahawks side of the ball, is it the normal suspects, the Ken Walker, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett?
Yep, same guys. Start Geno if you have to. It depends on where your tight ends are at, but
I mean, I
I mean
wish I could
tight
play
ends.
Geno at
Your
tight end.
quarterbacks.
Man,
Quarterbacks.
I
My
wish I
gosh,
could play Geno at tight end. I wish I could play anybody at tight end that's not named just Travis Kelsey.
it is almost my bedtime. Okay, my
No,
mind is
you're
gone.
good. All right. So not a lot going on there. We can move on to the West Coast team coming east, the San Francisco 49ers traveling to Cleveland to play the Browns. 10
Trap game?
point favorites. Driving? Yeah, they're driving. The road
No, I
tripping.
said trap game.
Oh, trap game. Possibility. Let me go check the 49ers schedule while you start this then.
Yeah. All right. So 10-point favorites. But also the over under I think is what caught George and I off guard the most. Like you're talking about two of the best defenses in the league. But 36.5 for the over under just seems really low. I mean, I feel like the 49ers put up almost 36.5 every week as it is. Um, Plus Deshaun Watson is out, so that does hurt as well. But I feel like I don't think the Browns are going to get shut out. And I do feel like even with the Browns' really good pass rush and good defense, I feel like the 49ers are going to be able to figure it out enough that Chris McCaffrey is still going to do his thing. He's still going to put up points. So I like the over in this game. But as far as like fantasy studs, I mean, look, you're starting your usuals on the 49ers side. I'm starting Brock Purdy. I'm starting Christian McCaffrey. I'm starting George Kittle. Starting Ayuk. I'm starting Debo. I mean, start all your usuals. Yes, the Browns defense is really good. Maybe they might not put up as big of points as they're usually putting up, but I still trust them. And as far as the Browns go, David Njoku, like, can we just take a second? Did you see the pictures?
Yeah.
Guys, if you haven't seen the pictures of David Njoku after he got burned, like, this man's entire face was completely burnt and peeling and blistering, and he still put on a helmet and played. That's absolutely nuts. That is toughness that, like, we don't usually see. So, huge props to Njoku, but, um, no, on the Brown side of the ball, I mean, look, 49ers defense is good. We don't have Deshaun Watson. Nick Chubb is out for the season, so you starting anybody on the Browns?
I mean, I said to sit Jerome Ford this week because the matchup's tough, and if they go down super far, why would they use Jerome Ford? Honestly, you have a better chance probably of getting points out of Kareem Hunt playing in the passing game, and I don't like that enough either. I never like Amari Cooper ever. It seems like ever. David Njoku is the closest, and yeah, that man's a warrior. Especially because right before the Ravens game, he put up the skin's too sensitive, I can't play, and then played anyway and had a decent game. Like, absolutely impressive. Good for him.
Dude,
When you
burns
come to
suck,
the
man. Can you
yeah,
imagine playing? Like, I have this little burn on my hand, and I am like, my world is ending. I can't do anything. This man burned his whole face. Like, oh my gosh.
and then played a football game. Absolutely insane. Um, as it comes to the trap game narrative, obviously they're coming off of the Dallas game that was absolutely dominant. George Kittle was obviously fired up for it with his F Dallas shirt that I heard they were considering a fine for. Absolutely, like the No Fun League is considering a fine for a shirt with a profanity about another NFL team in a touchdown celebration. What happened? Who paid Roger Goodell to not throw the hammer down on that one? First off,
They're busy checking pay slips on DraftKings to see if they can suspend anybody else.
oh, that's it. You're right. Okay. And then it comes to next week, they're playing Minnesota. So that's not really something that would like scare me. There's still a chance it's a trap game because you're also thinking like, oh, we're coming in here now. They don't have Deshaun Watson either. Like, overlook it, maybe. If it was the Bengals, which is the week after coming up, I'd be like, definite potential trap game
So
because the
next week's
Bengals are
the
one of
trap
those.
game.
Yeah.
Got it.
So watch out for them against Minnesota before they're going into Cincinnati. I think you covered that game well. I'm good to move on if you are, and we can go to the New Orleans Saints traveling to the Houston Texans. Saints favored by 1.5, and the Texans are missing some wide receiver depth with Tank Dell and Robert Woods both listed as questionable. We'll see how that goes. Is this the Nico Collins game for that reason?
I don't know. I still have yet to buy into the Nico Collins hype.
Have you
I
bought into the
still
Tank Dell hype?
I have Tank Dell on my bench in
Okay.
2 leagues. So yes, I bought into Tank Dell. I cannot buy into Nico Collins. I don't know why. It's just like there's something about fantasy, man, where it just there's certain players where no matter what, no matter how good they are, you can't do it. Um, I mean,
Amari Cooper.
Nico
Me.
Collins could put up 30 the next 5 weeks in a row, and I'd still be like, I'm not gonna pick him up though. Like it's just I don't know.
No, it's one of those
I'm out.
things where, like, yeah, I'm with you. Like, I never bought into Zach Moss. Zach Moss has been destroying worlds. And I'm like, I don't want Zach Moss. Maybe part of it's because, like, season long outlook for him, obviously, he's going to lose carries to Taylor. But I didn't even care about trying to get a hold of him if he was a free agent to try to play him for those 25-point games while he was out. As opposed to, like, Adam Thielen has a bad week 1. He puts up 13 points or so in week 2. And I'm like, Adam Thielen, I'm in. And it worked out for me. But like the buy-in between players is interesting when you look at it from a fantasy perspective.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Zach Moss put up 165 yards against the #1 rushing defense in the league coming into the game. And me too. I'm also like, if somebody offers me Zach Moss for a low end bench guy, I'll still be like, nah, I can't do it. Sorry.
Anything, I guess we have to talk Saints Texans quick, and then we can get back into that Colts game actually. Saints, I'm still concerned about a lot of those guys because of the Derek Carr injury. So, like, the only person people I should say, I'm really confident playing is Kamara, and you kind of have to play Chris Olave because you know that the breakout 150-yard game's coming, but he's been kind of disappointing.
Yeah, I would bench Olave if I had the chance. Like, it depends on who you have again, but like, I don't know, man. That trust is starting to slip away from me a little bit.
All right, give me 2 seconds to blabber at you while I bring up my lineup. So we got Chris Olave in this league. I am currently flexing Adam Thielen and Raheem Mostert. So you probably keep them both in, correct?
Yep, both solid.
All right. So we got the options of playing Marquise Brown or DeAndre Hopkins.
I like D-Hop, man. And Marquise has been good. Like, Hollywood's getting used. Like,
Oh, 100%.
I wouldn't mind either one of them, honestly, over
Thank you to
Olave.
Group C for having somebody drop Marquise Brown and no one added him. So I'll just slide him right on in there.
Go World Cup.
Hey, yeah, man. Anyway, so that gives you an idea. Like, there's a lot of cases where like Olave is going to be better than a lot of the guys on your bench. I think I kind of got lucky with being able to slot in and grab Marquise Brown, drafted D Hop late, and it worked out, at least decently so far. But not everyone's going to be that fortunate. So like, don't bench him for nobody. But if you have options, it's a possibility.
What a surprise. George got lucky. Crazy. All right, moving on to our next matchup with the Indianapolis Colts at the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jaguars are 4-point favorites. Over-under is set at 44. These are two teams that are playing better than they should. This is a division that's supposed to be really bad, and now all four teams are competing for the division title. Honestly, like if one of them decides to finally take off, there could be wild card potential from this division as well, which we also said there was zero chance of. There's no way. Like, okay, cool. Now there's a chance because all of these teams are playing pretty well. Now with Anthony Richardson out, that changes things. Zay Jones also out. Mo Alley Cox is questionable. Not that that's a huge loss, but still, neither one of those are big losses. But Anthony Richardson is. However, Gardner Minshew played really well against the Titans. And you could say, well, it's just a divisional matchup, and divisional matchups are weird. Well, this is another divisional matchup. So I think this could be a lot closer than we're expecting. I mean, it's only a 4-point spread, so I guess Vegas is also expecting it to be close. But I think with the Colts, the real question with the Colts is, what are you doing with the running backs? Are you starting Zach Moss because he's been killing it? Are you starting Jonathan Taylor because now he has a week to get under his belt and maybe he's going to start taking that lead? Are you starting neither one of them because you don't know who to trust? Are you starting both because they both have potential? What are we doing?
I think we're in the, I want to say 2-week window where I want to play both. Because Zach Moss has been so explosive that like, I hope he breaks that big touchdown again. But I think the split's going to be more 60-40. Not really sure which way it's going to go. If I had to guess, it's going to be 60 Moss, 40 Taylor as they keep working Taylor in. A guy like Jonathan Taylor with 40% of the snaps is probably still a flex play, which is why I'm saying, like, yeah, I think we're safe now to hope he raises from the like 18% of snaps last week up to 40. Give me 10 points. I'll be good. So I'm going both.
Sorry.
Bless you.
Thanks.
You're all good.
All right. On the Colts side of the ball, Josh Downs is the guy that I would pick up and stash if you can. I did in a couple leagues. He's a rookie. He's really starting to build a connection, and like he's shown some flashes all year. But once Gardner Minshew came in, like he really started taking a step forward. The two of them seem to have a connection for some reason. Downs was probably playing with the second team in preseason with Gardner Minshew, so they already have a connection. They're already hitting. So like, stash Josh Downs. Be the one who picks him up before he really goes off and the whole league wants to pick him up. Be the one that already has him on the bench. I still wouldn't play him this week just yet, but I would stash him for now. I think he's going to be bigger. As far as the Jacksonville Jaguars, I mean, look, you're starting ETN. Yeah, you're starting Calvin Ridley. Anybody you really like? Otherwise, I mean, Christian Kirk.
I'm not going Christian Kirk. Evan Ingram, even though he hasn't really flashed, has been actually one of the best floor tight ends in the league this year. He's only got one game with less than 7 half PPR points. So if you play in PPR, that's probably more like 9 or 10. And it's like, oh yeah, floor of 7. But when you consider how bad tight ends have been, if you don't have Kelsey and you get 7 points, you're beating pretty much every team at tight end most weeks. So as much as it looks frustrating, Evan Ingram's just kind of been consistently 7, 8, 10, 9. You can play that.
All right. Well, we got one more game left in the 1 o'clock window. It is the second highest point spread of the week. It's a 14-point spread, which is crazy that that's second. But we have the Carolina Panthers at the Miami Dolphins. This is set up to be a slaughter fest. The over-under is set at 47.5. Jeff Wilson is doubtful. A-Chain is on IR. Miles Sanders is out because, why not make the Panthers even worse? You're still starting Adam Thielen, especially because they are probably going to be garbage time points. So if Thielen doesn't have a good first half, don't freak out. They're probably just going to have to air it out in the second half to play catch up. Outside of that, I'm not touching anybody on the Panthers. I don't care about any of the running backs. They're going to abandon the run early. Then on the Dolphins side, I mean, play your guys. Start Tyreek Hill. Start Jalen Waddle. Start Raheem Mostert. Like, start Tua. The only thing that scares me with guys like Tua and Tyreek is if this is as lopsided as we think it might be, they might abandon the pass kind of early. But then again, this is also the same team that hung 70 on the Giants earlier in the year, so maybe they're not afraid to keep the pedal down. They are honestly me and Madden. They just throw the ball a lot. They have all speed players, and they don't care how many points they have. They just keep scoring. This is my Madden team right here. I literally played with them in our Madden franchise last season. Like, this is my Madden team. Start your guys.
They just throw the ball a lot. They put up a lot of points. He says, as he references the 70-point game, that 8 touchdowns were scored by running backs. But
yes,
I get
but
your
were
point.
the
Yes.
receivers utilized? Yes.
Oh, 100%. Like, Waddle was out that game, but Tyreek Hill scored a long touchdown at the beginning of the game. And that's at the point where it's like, yeah, you hope for that 40-point Tyreek Hill game, but like, I can sit back and know I already got 15. I'm cool. And he still ends up scoring, I think, 20 in that game or so. So it was fine. Yeah, no, play all of your Dolphins and play Adam Thielen. That just sounds sad. Hope this game stays a little closer to help put a little bit more pressure on the Dolphins, but Raheem Mostert, I'm interested to see how he rebounds now that he's going to be the starter again, and we'll see if he is going to be the dominant force he was at the beginning of the year while A-Chan is out. Ready to move to the 4 o'clock window?
Let's do it. Let's
All
keep
right.
it rolling.
We got the New England Patriots traveling out west to the Las Vegas Raiders, and the Patriots are shorthanded, missing Juju Smith-Schuster. Not that they have anyone that can throw him the ball anyway. And Ramondre Stevenson isn't even doing well. People are referencing this Patriots offense as the worst offense in the league. So tell me why the only person that you can play is Hunter Henry.
I don't even like Hunter Henry, if I'm being honest.
I don't
Like
either,
I
but
said,
it's tight ends. So
he's in that tight end bucket of just like, well, he might have a good game. I don't know. Question for you. If you're asking me, I'm starting nobody on the Patriots, even Ramondre Stevenson. Don't care. I'm not starting a Patriot. My question is, do you think our boy Bill Belichick is on the hot seat?
I think he should be.
Like,
Because I mean,
how
it's
far
not
does
even
the
like this
legacy
is
get you?
it's already gotten him pretty far. I mean, if you think about it, he made the playoffs the first year without Brady, and then he was like a borderline playoff team for 2 years. I don't know if he made it once or not. I'm trying to remember if he made it twice since Brady or just once. And now this year they're a dumpster fire. Like, they've been a middling, not great team for, ever since Brady's gone. I think we learned that the answer was the person carrying it was Brady, not even Belichick. So yeah, I think he should be on the hot seat. I'm questioning if it's going to be this year and next year because of that legacy carrying him, but I don't think it should be.
It's crazy. Absolutely
Yeah.
crazy. Las
That's like a
Vegas Raiders.
22-year run, I want to say, or something like that. It's a really long run.
Yeah. Vegas Raiders, Josh Jacobs. You're starting Adams as long as he's good to go, which he should be. Anyone else?
Most underrated receiver in the NFL right now is Jacoby Myers.
Oh yeah. Of course, I have Jacoby Myers on my bench in our league of record, and it's
And
only
he probably
because
shouldn't be.
it's he wasn't going to be, but then I just decided 2 minutes before game time last week, I was like, you know what? I'll start DJ Moore instead of Jacoby Myers, and I threw DJ Moore in there, and oh boy, that worked.
I mean, Jacoby Myers still put up, I think, like 17 or something, but it still worked out pretty well playing DJ Moore.
Yeah. Yeah, so I got lucky that my 0-3 team turned into a stud lineup. So
Mhm.
I have some lineup questions there, but I like Jacoby Myers a lot. I feel like he's got to be your
Mhm.
flex play. He's been so solid since week 1.
No, Jacoby Myers doesn't really have the name value. So like I feel like he could still be a buy low despite him playing well. I don't know if that's just me and like I haven't heard all the Jacoby Myers truthers making a lot of noise on social media and stuff because I feel like he's the best receiver that's gotten no mentions in like ever.
Well, that's because like he was good on the Patriots, but he was the guy that was known for no matter how good he was, he just didn't catch touchdowns. And
Yeah.
touchdowns make you popular, not catches. So the guy not getting touchdowns meant that all that good work he did for the Patriots, all that success he had went completely unnoticed. So now that he's doing the same success for the Raiders, and he's getting some touchdowns, like it's going unnoticed.
Also revenge game, actually thinking about it.
So I have a flex question for you.
All right, hit me.
This is our league of record.
Okay. And you're not playing me, so we're good.
I have Chris Godwin, I have George Kittle, and I have Jacoby Myers. Which one are you flexing?
I feel like I have to say Jacoby Myers. I don't really love playing the two tight ends, even after with Kittle coming off of the 3 touchdown game. Because the 49ers next week it's going to be Debo, and then the week after it's going to be McCaffrey for 5 touchdowns. But and I mean Godwin's good and Baker's been solid. Maybe it's the fact that I haven't seen him in 2 weeks because they were on bye, and before that they lost to the Eagles and didn't really do well. But I just don't quite have the faith in Chris Godwin right now as I do seeing Jacoby Myers kind of sliding under the radar and scoring like 15 a week.
Fair enough. That's how I have my lineup set right now. People are going to call me
All right.
crazy here and there, but
Great minds think alike, I suppose. And maybe that's why we're here. We're trying to find the guys that maybe not everyone notices and try to find little ways that you can get advantages to win your league. So let's hope we're right on this one. And we can move on to Chris Godwin's team, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, hosting the Detroit Lions. Obviously, like I said, Bucs had a hot start. They were 3-0. They lost the game right before their bye on a Monday night. And they're only 3-point underdogs to the Lions, who many are considering maybe second, third best team in the NFC right now. So the Bucs still have some legitimate hype around them.
yeah, they do. I mean, look, they had the roster. We said it before. Like, is Tom Brady really good, or is it just a good team? Like, no, they do have a good team. So putting Baker Mayfield in there hasn't just tanked them. They are still competitive. Now, granted, I am kind of surprised that the Bucs are only 3-point underdogs. I really thought the Lions would be a higher favorite, but the Lions are also really struggling with injuries. So we got to see how it goes. I think that the biggest person to talk about in this entire matchup, I mentioned him earlier in the show, and I absolutely love the guy, is Sam Laporta. The dude has been absolutely nuts this year, which is double surprising. One, because he's not a tight end we were talking about. The rookie tight end everyone was talking about was Dalton Kincaid. Um,
Mhm.
but also because he's a rookie tight end. Rookie tight ends don't do anything. Tight end position sucks, and yet this rookie tight end in a terrible position is crushing it. I absolutely love the guy.
Me too. And I actually did forget to put on a rundown, so I'm sorry if it threw you off. He is questionable, but he has gone from not listed to DNP to limited. It kind of sounded to me like it was a midweek injury that seemed concerning at first, but I think he's going to be fine to go. And because he's been so good, and the fact that he plays tight end, if he plays, don't question it. Put him in your lineup. Don't get cute. But he has been not only one of the few rookie tight ends that's ever broken out, but has been one of the better just tight ends in general. It's absolutely amazing to me. I'm glad you brought him up there. Because he's probably my favorite Lions weapon because of how much he gives you an advantage that position, even with like David Montgomery basically pulling the Zach Moss and going out there and destroying worlds, despite the fact that we don't really want him to because we wanted Jahmyr Gibbs to be that guy. And now Gibbs and Bam Knight are both out. So I want to say it's just Montgomery and Craig Reynolds.
Dude, I hope Craig goes off. That'd be so cool.
For those who don't know, we went to the same school as Craig Reynolds at the same time, so we're big Craig Reynolds guys. But
I wonder what the odds are on an anytime touchdown for Craig Reynolds.
And he scored plenty of them. I think he scored one. It was either last week or 2 weeks ago. The Lions use him. Not enough for like a fantasy play, but DFS sleeper. If you're someone that needs like really low budget for your last player, chance
plus 475. It's not bad.
Better than I thought because he could have been like plus 700, plus 800. So
yeah, that's kind of what I was expecting. But I mean, he has a better touchdown odds than either of the quarterbacks to get a sneak touchdown, better than Marvin Jones Jr., better than either team to get a defensive touchdown. I mean, there's some other guys thrown in there too, but he's just below Jameson Williams.
And I kind of like that better than Jameson Williams. I mean, he's starting to get eased back in, but I mean, we're going to have Amon-Ra St. Brown coming back. He was full participant 2 days, and then he was not on the final injury report. So that hurts his chances, obviously. But yeah, no, the Lions, a lot of places to go for fantasy. Amon-Ra's back in your lineup. You're playing Montgomery. You're playing Laporta. I don't know if I would go as far as playing Josh Reynolds in this one, but I mean, possibility. Buccaneers side of the ball, just because I said to sit Chris Godwin in the other situation doesn't mean that he has to be a sit in all of your lineups. You still have plenty of situations where Chris Godwin would be a solid play. Same with Mike Evans. The Lions have been tough against running backs. Would you consider Rachaad White?
Yeah, I think Rachaad White is like a borderline running back too. Like I said, it depends where your team is at right now. You got to send us your lineup questions so we can answer this for sure. I can't just be like, oh, yeah, start Rachaad White. And then you're like, yeah, but I have Josh Jacobs and Kyron Williams. Okay, well, then, yeah, don't start Rachaad White.
No.
Or like, so it depends on who you have. Send us your lineup questions and we can answer those for you. But I think he's a borderline RB2.
Sounds good. And I think that's all I've got there. We got a divisional matchup on the West Coast with the Arizona Cardinals and the Los Angeles Rams. I don't know why my brain just flashed St. Louis Rams, and I almost said it, and it's been a long time since that one's popped up, so that's interesting. Cardinals underdogs by a touchdown, and the over-under, this is the highest over-under of the week. No, second highest, my bad, at 49 points. Because the Cardinals are doing pretty good on offense, but don't really have much of a defense, and the Rams are kind of the same way.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty cut and dry.
Time, sorry.
Oh gosh, no, I wasn't kidding. It's close to my bedtime. I think the Rams are pretty cut and dry. You're starting Cooper, you're starting Puka, you're starting Kyron. My dog is very upset. He does that.
He's trying to dart throw Higbee. That's what he's trying to do.
Dart throw Higbee. Gross. He's in the bucket. Just put him in a bucket. I don't know.
The tight end dartboard has turned to a tight end bucket. We're gonna have to explain this whole thing to Cody when he comes back next week. So what the heck is a tight end bucket?
Throw a dart into the bucket. It's fine. Do what you want. It's a
you want to like take a harpoon into the bucket and whatever tight end pulls out like of the bucket is the winner. Is that how we're doing this or something?
Yeah, I don't even know. I don't even know. It's like, you know how stores sometimes have like mystery bags or like mystery buckets, and it's really just like, here's 10 cheap items that we haven't been able to sell. We're going to add some mystery to it. And hey, now you can pay one big price and get all of it at once. And you're like so excited because you're like, I don't know what I'm going to get. And then you open it and you pull everything out and you're like, wow, this is all this is all crap. Like, this all sucks. That's what the tight end bucket is. It's like, here's 10 tight ends. One of them could be good. There's a chance. And then you open it up and you're just pulling tight ends out of this bucket. And you're like, they're all trash. Like, they all suck. I don't want any of these. That's the tight end bucket for me.
I'm just going to totally spill our behind the scenes here. If this is not a TikTok by the end of the weekend, I swear to God.
That's you, Mr. Editor. I'm out of that game. So it's that's how I feel about
I mean you making a TikTok about picking junky tight ends out of a bucket. I mean, we pull slips all the time. I'm just saying.
Oh, that's fair. We could totally act this thing out.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. This needs to be okay.
We just went way out of left field. I don't know what. I don't even know where we're at anymore.
Well,
the Rams.
Congratulations
Rams
if you made it to 51-ish minutes in this episode. You are just hearing the absolute ramblings of us acting like we're recording at 3 a.m. because it basically feels like it even was not 3 a.m. Seriously. Cardinals side of the ball, Hollywood Brown is questionable. He should be good to go. He can play if you want to. I'm not playing either of the running backs because we don't know how the split's going to go, but stash them. So Keontae Ingram and Amari DeMarcado, if you need the names there. Zach Ertz is in a bucket of tight ends that we don't like.
Put him in a bucket. I want a bucket.
And that's it.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. I got a bucket. Like I need to go to dollar store and buy a bucket now just so I can make a TikTok. Like that's what my life has come to.
Sounds like a great time to me. He was not Eagles. In the bucket, I don't think. Yeah, I don't think Dallas Goedert's in the bucket. I think he's just above the bucket.
Philadelphia Eagles at New York Jets. Jets are underdogs. Shocker. 6.5 point underdogs. The over-under is set at 40.5. George, take it away.
Well, I know when we first put together this game, you were like 6.5. Thought that was going to be higher. And you were trying to say the 49ers have a trap game. You want yourself a trap game? The Eagles play the Dolphins next week. Trap game. I mean, obviously, I don't want that. I'm wearing an Eagles shirt and have a light behind me and whatever. But
I got a crown. Get on my level. Wow, the camera's flipped. It's this side. Get on my level. I got a crown.
I literally did the same thing. I pointed at the Couch GM's flag. I'm like, yeah, that's an Eagles light.
It trips you up.
It really does. How do weathermen do it with like green screens? Anyway, this is still not going well. Eagles side of the ball. I mentioned Dallas Goedert. He is still above the tight end bucket, especially after his performance last week. You play him. Jalen Hurts, AJ Brown, Devontae Smith. And you definitely play DeAndre Swift as well. He has broken out as the running back one there. And if you're in as bad of running back problems that you want to play Cam Akers, go ahead and play Kenny Gainwell. But that's pretty far down there. Don't actually do that. And then Jets side of the ball, you have to play Garrett Wilson. It's worth noting the Eagles won't have Darius Slay. So one less solid corner out there. They can probably try to keep him away from James Bradbury if they really get creative enough. And that's Breece Hall, I guess, because Breece Hall has actually been pretty solid since they finally took the leash off and said, go run.
Yep. I want you to know that speaking of these guys, I saw a post on Twitter where some guy's first 3 picks in his draft were Justin Jefferson, followed by Nick Chubb, followed by Najee Harris. So if you're in a situation like that guy who just completely threw his entire season out the window, maybe you're starting a guy like Kenny Gainwell. Outside of that, I'm not starting it.
I was kind of hoping that Cody had taps worked into this background music section on here because I would have totally played taps for that guy. That poor guy. I hope it wasn't that big money league because that hurts. And if you can come back and make the playoffs from that roster, number one, A+ effort on the waiver wire or trade market, and number 2, a little bit of luck too, I have to say. Like you don't lose your top 3 pick. I mean, you didn't lose Najee, but essentially you lost Najee. Najee lost you, or something like that. I don't know.
Najee's not dead, but he's dead to me.
Wow. Okay. Cool. I'm good with Eagles Jets. We can move on to Sunday Night Football. We're getting close to an hour. We're doing okay here on time, actually. New York Giants, Buffalo Bills. And this is the highest point spread of the week with Giants underdogs by 15.
Yeah, I'm still taking the Bills. Still taking the Bills spread. Yep.
Still taking the Bills spread because, as I mentioned to Tyler as we're putting this together too, have we seen the Giants football yet this year? And I think the answer is yes, one time, and we're in week 6.
One half of a game.
Yeah, you're right. It
Against
wasn't
the
even a
Cardinals.
full game. It was a half a game. You're right. And against the Cardinals, who they're playing above expectations, but they're still not playing as like a winning team most weeks.
The Cardinals, who were basically like, they had their fun, and then at halftime, like, okay, well, we still want Marvin Harrison Jr. So let's chill. Still want that
Caleb
number 1
Williams
pick.
because they're going to trade Kyler Murray. But either way,
you're not wrong. It doesn't matter who you take. Put him in a bucket. I don't know. Just it's where I'm at with my life.
We might as well tight end bucket Caleb Williams at this point. He'll get as many points as half those tight ends in the bucket. It's fine.
Probably. Stupid bucket. All right. I'm so lost. Giants. I'm not playing the Giants. I don't care.
No dimes. Waller's questionable, but I mean, I guess you kind of play him if he plays. He's almost in the bucket at this point.
Waller's in the bucket, man. Drop him. Drop in the bucket.
Who's not in the bucket? Let's be honest. Let's ask the question.
Everyone's
Who's not
in the bucket? All right.
Except for Travis Kelce.
My bucket is overflowing. Kelce was in the bucket there for like a week because, like, I was like, all right, dude. Like, you're too worried about Taylor Swift now. Let's get back to football. But then this week he remembered how to football.
Okay.
Anywho.
I was trying to think of a Taylor Swift pun. We're good. And Saquon Barkley is listed as questionable. It stinks it's a Sunday night game because I don't really know where to go if he doesn't play. I mean, you can see if his backup got dropped. You're not playing anyone else on the Bills. You're not playing anyone else on the Cowboys. And Eckler's going to be back most likely in the Chargers game, which we're going to mention next. So like the fact is you don't have an insurance policy.
You pick up Deuce Vaughn. Just send it with the Deuce.
Not even Rico Dowdle.
Nah, Deuce Vaughn. Dude's going to get one carry for like 3 yards. You send it. You win anyway.
That sounds very confident of you.
Yeah.
I don't know. So try to listen for news for Saquon before the 1:00 game start. Hopefully you'll get an idea if he's going to play or not, if you have to make him go. Bill's side of the ball. Still playing Diggs. I really like Gabe Davis. He's another guy that's been kind of flying under the radar because he burned us last year and he's got 4 touchdowns in four games. So
you
can play him, especially against the Giants.
It's just a weird sentence to hear. Like, I really like Gabe Davis. Like, it's just strange.
I mean, look at the matchup and the fact that he scored a touchdown each of the last 4 weeks.
Like I said, you're not wrong. That's like being like, yeah, big Nico Collins fan. Like, what? Like, yeah, it makes sense, but it's weird. Put him in a bucket.
I get you. I don't know. James Cook's good to go here. Josh Allen's good to go here. I don't know. There's not much else to talk about. The Bills are going to win this game probably by a landslide, and you guys can like listen back in this and laugh at us as it's 14-13 Bills in the fourth quarter. But anyway, Monday Night Football is the Dallas Cowboys hoping to redeem themselves against the Los Angeles Chargers, and they are favored by 2.5. And this is the highest over/under game of the week at 51.
The Cowboys got a Monday night game. I'm so shocked.
Yeah, honestly, you're right.
Sorry.
Also, the fact that the Giants have had 4 primetime games and we're week 6. I don't think we did mention that one.
Somebody was expecting the Giants to be good this year.
Somebody was wrong. But I mean, all the usual suspects here that do not include Deuce Vaughn. I don't even really feel like we have to name most of them. The biggest thing is Austin Eckler, full participant in practice all week. He was quoted saying, I have a 99% shot to play. So he's good to go. Put him back in your lineups. Hope we get this touchdown machine that we've been missing since you drafted him in the first round. And they sat him all the way through their bye week. But the fact is, if he stays healthy, you don't even have to worry about the bye week anymore.
Yeah, that's true. George, I have a question for you.
All right, hit me.
Monday Night Football is supposed to be like the biggest spectacle of the football week, correct?
Yeah, I guess technically.
Technically, you put your best game on Monday Night Football or Sunday Night
Yeah.
Football, one of the two. But
Yeah.
typically you do.
Yep.
So let's say it's a crazy good Eagles game. You got Eagles Chiefs. You
Mm-hmm.
got Eagles Chargers. You got even Eagles Cowboys because that big rivalry.
Yep.
And you only have one TV. You lost the remote. You putting on the Eagles Monday night game or you putting on the Phillies playoff game? Which one are you watching?
Okay. So the only reason I know the answer to this question is because last year we had an Eagles Texans Thursday night game, and the Eagles were still undefeated at like 7-0 at this point. And we had a Phillies game in the World Series. And I will say the Phillies game had the big TV. So I think it's the Phillies game.
All right. Fair enough. Fair enough. Just curious. There's no wrong answer. Go Phillies. That's all I know. Go Phillies.
Yeah. I almost wore the Phillies shirt instead of the Eagles shirt this time. I probably should have done that.
My wife picked my shirt out, so
Oh, okay. So, okay, Kirko, you got it. All right. We got a couple more things to hit before we get out of here. Why don't we start with some Survivor picks? It actually says Survivor picks now, but I'm going to call it that the rest of my life. Cody, not here to pick, but who are you thinking of picking in your Survivor League this week?
So I went back and forth on this one a lot. I feel like the obvious picks are like the Bills or the Eagles, or maybe you already picked the Chiefs on Thursday night. Like I think those are the obvious picks because they have the biggest spreads, the best chance to win. The issue to me is, are you picking to make it to next week, or are you picking to win? Now, if you pick to win, that means taking a team that maybe you wouldn't originally take. Maybe you are hoping you don't have to take the entire rest of the season. A team like the Bills, like if you get close to the end and you still have the Bills in your back pocket, you're looking pretty good. You get close to the end and it's like, oh, good, I get to pick either the Steelers or the Raiders today. Like, oh boy, yeah, it's gonna be rough. But for that reason, I am picking to win, and if it eliminates me, it eliminates me. So I'm going with the Rams. Rams over the Cardinals. 7-point spread. Rams have Cooper Cup back. I know that it could be a trap game, but Cardinals are playing for that number one overall pick. Stafford's going to want to bounce back from that bad Eagles loss, so I'm going with the Rams.
I like it because, I mean, the Cardinals have almost burned me a couple of times this year, so that I'm like kind of scared to go at them again. But the Rams have been like, you and I actually were the two that picked the Rams to make the playoffs this year. And then they were winning games without Cooper Cup, and now you're bringing in Cooper Cup again. Like, that's why the Rams are still favored by a touchdown, despite this being a Cardinals team that's overperforming and a divisional game. And I like that pick as well. And I think other than that, it's a lot of teams, like you said, that are obvious. So my pick's the Bills. I'm going to take the Bills over the Giants. That would be my safe pick. And I was just trying to sort out, like, who else could I even potentially take that's not one of those powerhouse teams. And I want to say my other one's Minnesota, because I think the Bears kind of had their flash in the pan, and Minnesota's playing for their season right now. Like you said, they might be sellers. If they win this game, they think maybe they can make a run to a wild card spot. If they lose this game, there's a chance that Kirko is a New York Jet by the end of the trade deadline.
Yeah, it's very true. I think it would be for the best. I think it would make this league very interesting. I would like that to happen, to be honest with you. All right, George. That's our Survivor picks.
That is our
Survivor,
Survivor
whatever
picks.
it is.
I don't know.
Do you even have a bumper for our next segment, or should I just jump into it?
I do not have a bumper because we have something new coming on, and our editor Cody is sitting over there gambling on something or whatever. So Tyler can fake some sound effects, or he can just go into it, whatever he wants to do.
Bum, 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 bum. All right, so new segment. I came up with this 1 minute before we started recording. So, you know how you're watching football and NFL Fox is like, you can win $1 million of Terry's money. Well, it's time for me to put Tyler's money on the line. Yeah, I don't have $1 million, so it's gonna be $5. $5 of Tyler's money is going on the line every week with the Couch GM's parlay. Every week, I'm gonna pick a category. Could be over under. Could be point spread. Could be touchdown scores. Could be anything. whatever we want to parlay. We might even pick just a single game and have to build a parlay off of that game. Regardless, each one of us is going to pick one leg of that parlay. We're going to bet $5 on it, and we're going to just keep track to see how much money we win this year, or how much money I lose this year is probably the better way to say it. So this week, now, it's only two of us, so it's only going to be a 2-leg parlay.
I actually have a
lame.
proposition for you.
Oh, okay.
All right, so why don't we each pick a second one, and we'll hit the good old wheel of names, and we will see whose second pick gets in. So we still have a 3-pick parlay.
I'm interested.
Okay.
I'm interested. I'm in. Okay.
All right. So go ahead, announce your first one, and I'll announce my first one, and then we'll go with the second after that.
I got my DraftKings up right here, so I can tell you exactly what the parlay odds will be right away. And I am going to go with a pretty clear one to start.
Okay.
Now, I was looking at the odds, and I wanted to go with somebody that's not completely low odds because I still want to win some money here. But, when you got easy cheese, you got to take the easy cheese. And I'm going with Raheem Mostert, anytime touchdown.
I like it, especially with the injury. He's coming back right into the starting role like he never even left. I think mine was pretty easy as well. I'm not sure if the odds are going to be affected because he's missed some time, but he's the touchdown machine I just mentioned in our last game of the breakdown, Austin Eckler. Coming back from the injury, right into the end zone.
Austin Eckler. Let me scroll down here. Let me find this man. See where it lands us. Austin Eckler is at the same exact odds. They're both minus 185. So that parlay alone, $5 would win us 1186. Not terrible. Not what we're going for though. So, all right, George. Let's go here. I want to get off of the running backs a little bit. I'm gonna go.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with a decent name here for the wheel of names here.
All right.
I talked about him too much this podcast, so I feel like I have to throw his name out. Now, granted, this will change to the other person if he doesn't play, but I'm going Sam Laporta.
All right. So you got Sam Laporta, and I am going to go bold with your own team. So that means it's not going to be Derrick Henry, but I'm going to think D-Hop gets into the end zone over in London.
D-Hop. I like it.
All right. Let me see what I can do really quick with our screen sharing. All right, here we are. Wheel of names, Laporta and Hopkins. I'll shuffle a couple of times. Not that it's really going to matter. We ready?
Let's do it. There's no wrong answer here. That's what I'm feeling.
No. Getting close. We got a Sam Laporta.
Laporta.
So again, if Sam Laporta does not play, we are going to go DeAndre Hopkins.
I love the clapping there. That was fantastic.
Yeah, right? We even got the sound in there. This is a high quality production. Cody, you got to step your game up when you get back.
Sam Laporta at plus 230 skyrockets our odds up to plus 683 for the parlay. $5 would win $39.15. So, guys, you can see it right here. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to place the bet. It is actually happening right before our very eyes. There it is, bet receipt. Not that you can really see, but just take my word on it. I made the bet. That's $5. Tyler's money that has gone straight into DraftKings. You're welcome, DraftKings, for a free $5. But there it is. There's our parlay.
Don't stop talking yet. You have one more thing to go here. And do we have a bumper for this one? I'm kind of forgetting. We do. I forgot. Let's do this first. How can I forget? We even had the fancy music for you. Tyler's oddball fact of the day. Tyler, take it away.
These musical bumpers make me want to do like an outfit change in between. Like, I kind of want to throw on a suit jacket with a pipe and be like, oh, you see, my oddball fact of the day. Back in my day, I have a good fact for you today. So my good fact for you today is in the world record of the 20 top watched shows of all time. 19 of those 20 are Super Bowls.
Of all time, we got Super Bowls. I think the bigger part of the oddball fact is going to be, what the heck is number 20?
I don't know. I couldn't find it. I tried looking.
Oh, man.
I'm going to have to
Watch
leave.
it be like, no, the funniest thing would be like, oh, they're all Super Bowls. And then number 20 is Sunday Night Football.
But it's probably like the Friends season finale or the last episode of Lost or something crazy like that.
The last episode of Lost was pretty high on some things, if I'm remembering correctly. I'm actually only on season 1 of Lost. I know I'm like years and years behind, but everyone that knows me is like, oh, George doesn't watch TV shows. He just says he's going to and never does. So,
oh god. Okay. The other 20th one is the final episode of Seinfeld.
Oh,
well, there you go.
Airline food.
There you have it. He's not my topic. You know what?
I'm staying out of it too, because I think you and I agree on this one, and it's just gonna make everybody click off before I go down here and I click this little outro music and we start getting a little music under us as we get out of here before it gets too bad. This has been a fun episode. I hope you guys enjoyed and made it to the end. Make sure you like and subscribe everywhere. For Tyler Snyder, I'm George Kerth, and we'll catch you all next week.
I'm selling a bucket.